avatars of gods.
Okay, yeah. So, if from within this worldview, how do we see different spiritual paths or even different religions, different conceptions? The Gita says that all people are on my path. Mama vartamanu vartante manushya path. That is 4.11. So now, one of my simplest metaphors I find for understanding this is consider mountain climbing. The top of the mountain is spiritual level of reality. The bottom of the mountain is material level. Now, broadly, the various paths in the world, they can fall in three broad categories. One is those who are, if you consider pendulum, those who are exclusivist. Exclusivist people say that we have exclusive rights to God. That you have to follow our path, only then you're going to go to God. If you're not following it, then you're not going to go to God. In fact, you're going to go to hell. So going back to the mountain metaphor, it's like somebody says that this is the only way to the top of the mountain. Now the problem with this is that if the divine, if the ultimate reality is unlimited, why should there be only one way to it? So exclusivism can very easily lead to narrow-mindedness. Now among the exclusivists, there's some category of people who are extremists. So exclusivists are more like a bigger category. Now, what exclusivists do in thought, extremists do in action. What that means, exclusivists say that if you're not following our path, you're going to go to hell. Extremists are kinder. They say, anyway, you're going to go to hell. Why delay it? We will help you get there faster. So both these kind of paths have given religion a very bad name. Now you can go to the other extreme, and there are pluralists. Pluralists say that, oh, there are as many paths to spiritual growth as many human beings are there. Everybody can have their path. Now, in terms of personal autonomy, everybody can have their choice. One's faith or one's spirituality cannot be legislated and imposed on anyone. At the same time, if we consider the mountain metaphor, it's not that all paths are going to take one to the mountain only, top of the mountain. Some paths may keep us going around a mountain. Some paths may take us away from the mountain into a valley. To say all paths are right, that can seem broad-minded, but actually it's not broad-minded. This is narrow-minded. To say that only my path is right. However, to say that all paths are right, it seems broad-minded, however, it is actually empty-minded. Why empty-minded? Because if we say that all paths are right, somebody says there's no such thing as spiritual at all. There's no divine, there's no soul, there's no spirituality at all. The whole idea. Then if that is right, then all spiritual paths become wrong. So pluralism as an individual choice, as a political policy, that is fine. But as a philosophical principle, it is hollow. We want to be open-minded, but we can't be so open-minded that our brains fall out. So in between these two is what we can call as inclusivist. Now, inclusivist is the idea that there is one purpose which includes many paths. What is the one purpose? It is to go up the mountain. Now, to go up the mountain, there can be one path which I am following. There can be another path which somebody else is following. A third path. There can be a fourth path. Now, how do we know that is a path that is true? Is it taking us to the top of the mountain? Now, what does that mean broadly? See, if we are going on a path which is taking us to the top of the mountain, two things will happen. The peak of the mountain will come closer, and the bottom of the mountain will go further. So what that means essentially is, if the bottom of the mountain is material consciousness, the top of the mountain is spiritual consciousness. Then material things we'll be less infatuated by them. We will become less addicted to them. We'll be able to let go of them more easily. And the spiritual will become more important for us. So essentially, the path of inclusivism is that, if you want to put it, how do we know? For most of us, I talk about these three truths: there is the soul, there is the world, and there is the divine. So for most people, the world is very big and the divine is quite small. If the divine exists at all, the divine is quite small. But when there is spiritual growth, then by that, what happens is that the world becomes smaller and divinity becomes bigger. So a person's decisions, are they made uh, based on whether I'll get fame and power and popularity and position in the world, or is it going to help me grow spiritually? So there can be different paths, and there are different paths. The different paths doesn't mean that all paths are the same. All paths, or rather many paths, have a same ultimate purpose. Now, one last point I'll add to this, that while different paths can take us to the top of the mountain, that does not necessarily mean that each path is equally easy. Some paths may be very rocky, some paths may be very marshy, some paths may be very slippery. So the follower of each path can talk about the virtues of their path. And like, there can be allopathy, there can be naturopathy, there can be Ayurveda. These are all modalities for healing. Sometimes some Ayurvedic doctors, instead of healing patients, they focus all their time on criticizing allopathy. Or some allopaths, they may focus all their time on demonizing Ayurveda or naturopathy. Instead of that, the point is that help people get healed. And if people get healed, that's the most important thing. So, in general, on the spiritual path, the focus is not so much on proving my path is better. There is some place for that. But what is much more important is improving. Is my consciousness evolving? Am I becoming a better person? Am I becoming less infatuated by the things of the world? Am I becoming more attached to the divine? If that is happening, then that is a good path for us. Okay. Thank you.